This course is brought to you by AppyPie as part of our Academy series.
Now I'm going to show you how to create a menu and a footer for your website. So that's our template. And once we've created that template, we want to clone that template for each page on our site. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be creating a home page and a tools page. And therefore, I want to clone it twice. To do that, you hover over this and click clone. I'm going to name this page home page. And one other thing you're going to want to do here is change the permalink. So right now, to get to this home page, you would type in givebackyourgift.com/clone of template. But I would rather just change that to the name of the page itself, which is home. And actually, I would prefer home. It's much easier. So click OK, and then publish that page. Now, if we go to givebackyourgift.com/home, just home, it'll take us to that new page, which is already following the template we just created. Now I'm going to clone that template one more time, and this one is going to be my tools page. And I'll edit the permalink for that. Then click publish, and you're done. Next up is to create WordPress menu. We want to create the menu inside of WordPress before we start building it in Thrive Architect. And to do this, you hover over Appearance and click on Menus. From here, we want to select the pages that we want on our menu. We want Homepage and Tools. Then click Add to Menu. From here, you can order your menu. I definitely want the Home to be before Tools. And another thing is, on my menu, I don't want it to say Homepage, I just want it to say Home. And to change this, you click on the little down arrow and change the navigation label. And that's it. Click on Save Menu, and you're done. Next up is to create that menu inside of Thrive Architect and then save it as a symbol. And what a symbol is it's something that when you put it on one page and edit it on that page, all those changes apply to wherever that symbol is placed anywhere on your website. So that means if we create a menu on our home page as a symbol and then add that symbol to our tools page, if we make a change to our menu while looking at the home page, it'll also automatically make the same change on our tools page. This is super convenient. So let me show you what this looks like. We're going to go to all pages, and on the home page, when you hover, just click on Edit with Thrive Architect. Now we're going to create our first menu. And the way that Thrive Architects works is you want to put everything inside of a background section. And this gives you more freedom. So, for example, with this background section here, if I were to place my header inside of it, maybe I don't want my header to be this wide. So let's say I just want the width to be that small. But I want a background color that covers the whole length of this. Well, to do that, I would edit the background section itself and add a background color. So don't worry if this isn't making sense. As we start building more and more things inside of Thrive Architect, you're going to see why we want to put everything inside of a background section. But for now, I'm just going to delete this heading because we don't need it. And I'm going to add a menu. You can either scroll down until you find menu or just search for it. And then you drag and drop this inside of the background section. And that's it. That's the same menu that we created in WordPress, which is awesome. But now we want to style it, so it's going to look a lot better. The first thing I want to do here is I want the menu to be on the right-hand side and not the left-hand side. So I'm going to select the custom menu element here. And when I scroll down, we want to look for alignment and click on the right-hand side. Next up, I want to change the background color here. And I want to go to our colors that we found earlier that you can find in your design code. And I like the idea of having an off black menu bar. So to do that, I'm going to copy this color and then make sure background section is selected. When I scroll down, I'll look for the background style area, click on this color, and add our off black. Then I'm going to add it to my favorites so we can quickly use this color in the future. But the problem here is now our text is not looking good. You can't read it. So let's change that to our off-white color. So now that I've copied that color, we want to make sure that menu item is selected. And because this lock icon is green, it means that these items are connected in this moment. So if I change the color of this item, tools will also change automatically. Let me show you what that looks like. When I click on this color, I paste it in, and then also add that to my favorites, and click on apply. And it should have changed here, so I'm not sure why it's not changing. I'm going to click save and reload the page. I'm going to exit and come back. Sometimes you get weird things like this where things don't work as they should. So I'm going to try this one more time. There we go. So I'm not sure why that happened, but that is a good example of if something's not working, just save it, exit it, and reload it, and it should be good to go. So awesome, that's really good. Now next up is I want a little less spacing between these items. So I want them to be closer together. And to do that, we're going to click on custom menu, and for the spacing, I'm just going to lower that down. And then click save. Now there's so many options here about how you can edit this. You can add hover effects, which is kind of cool. Or you can just do no style. For now, I'm just going to keep it simple with no style. So next up is we've created this menu inside Thrive Architect, but we want to save it as a symbol. And to do that, I want to select the background section because this is part of the menu. And from here, we want to hover over this little icon right here. And that's going to save it as a symbol. And make sure you select symbol and then say menu bar or whatever you want it to be. And then click save. And that's it. Now it's a symbol. And if we want to edit it, we can edit as a symbol. And we still have all the same options that we had before to edit. And then whenever we do make an edit, so in this case I want the color to stretch across the whole screen, then make sure you click save and close symbol. And now it's done. So let's take a look at what this actually does. I'm going to add this symbol below. And over symbols, I'm going to select the menu bar that we just created. Now watch what happens when I edit the top symbol. I'm just going to select the background section and change the color. And now I'm going to save and close symbol. Boom, changes. So this is really cool. Now sometimes it's getting a little funky because these two items should not be next to each other, but normally this will work just fine. Now one thing I want to change here is you can tell there's a little white line at the top, and I don't like that look. So what we can do is in layout and position, we'll see that there's a 1 pixel margin, which is creating that white line. And I'm just going to click on this link button, so when we change one of these, it changes all 4. And now I'm going to save and close that symbol. And we shouldn't get that white line anymore. And now there's also a 1 pixel margin around the symbol itself. So So let's get rid of that. There we go. Perfect. So that's looking like a pretty clean menu so far. And it's saved as a symbol, so we can check that off. Now, one thing you can do if you want is you can add a call to action button. So let's say you had a menu item like free training and you wanted to put extra emphasis on that. Well, you could do that by editing as a symbol, selecting the item you wanted to put attention on, and adding custom styling to that one item by unchecking this item. So you could make it bold. You could change the background color. You can move the text around. You could change the margin so it looks more like a button. Add shadows to it. Round the corners. There are so many options here. And this is why I love Thrive Architect. You have so much control over the look of your website. Now, I know that doesn't look good, but if you really wanted to add this, it would be very easy to make it look good. So that's my attempt at quickly making a button for tools. But I don't want that, so I'm just gonna not do that, reverse that. And one way you can reverse is just click on these buttons and click undo, which is Control Z. Now, unfortunately, it can only go so far. So in this case, I'm going to manually change this tool. So I'm going to check that off. And next up is add in an optimized logo. So for most footers, you're going to want to have a logo on the left-hand side. And that's what I'm going to add here. Now, one thing I want to mention is whenever you add images to your site, they increase the load time because it's an extra thing that your website has to load. And an easy way to decrease this time is to use a free website called kraken.io. So any image that you plan on adding to your website, you're going to want to run through kraken.io to shrink the file size. And a lot of times it can be shrunk in half without changing the look of the image itself. And to do that, you would just click Try Free Web Interface, upload your files, and then download them. It's super easy. And I'm going to walk you through how to use this in a later video. But for now, my logo's already been optimized, and I'm just going to add it to the menu itself. So first, we want to make sure that we're editing this symbol. And now we're going to add the image to the left of this custom menu. So I'm going to search for image and make sure it's on the left-hand side. Now it's time to upload my logo. And what that's done is it's created two columns. So on the left column is my logo, and on the right-hand column is my menu. And you can change the size of this column. One thing I want to do right off the bat is change the size of this image because it does not need to be that big. Next up is to get rid of all this extra spacing that's been added. So by default, it's added a lot of margin, which is the space above and below the image. So we can get rid of that. Next up is the column itself. And inside the column, there actually isn't any spacing, so we're going to look at the columns. And here they put extra padding in automatically. Let's get rid of that. And on the menu, there's some extra margin that we don't need. Then make that 0. And now for the image, I want it to be in the middle and not on the top. So to do this, we're going to select on column, or actually columns, and click on vertical position in the center. So a lot of this is just trial and error. Yeah, I mean, you can tell I've used this software a lot, but sometimes I forget like where the button is. But if you use this more and more, it'll just become really natural to you. And that's it. So now let's save and close the symbol and see what it looks like. And we can even preview it in a new page. And I think it looks pretty good. One thing is I would like a little bit more space on the top and the bottom. So let's figure out how to do that. So we edit a symbol. And now I'm gonna select background section. And when I scroll down to layout and position, I'm gonna uncheck this. So this way we can edit one thing at a time. And let's try 10 pixels at the top and 10 pixels at the bottom. And that seems to be a little much, so I'm gonna go 6 and 6. And then I'm also gonna lower the size of the logo a little bit. So I'm gonna make that image smaller. That's starting to look pretty good. So I'm gonna save and close that symbol. And that's it. Let's reload that. And now we have a home page and a tools page. And you've got your menu. Now, one last thing you might want to do with the menu, depending on what look you like, is add a shadow. And that's really easy to do. You would select the background section, scroll down, and then under shadow, you can add a new shadow. And you can play around with this until you get the effect that you want. You can make it really subtle, which would be more in my style, or you can make it super obvious. So I don't even know if you can tell, I might have made that too subtle, but it's up to you with that shadow. And that's it for our menu. Next up is to create our website footer. And this is gonna live at the bottom of our website. And I actually want the footer to be very similar to the Thrive symbol, so I'm just going to duplicate this. But one thing I don't want is I don't want to have... Oh, first of all, we want to unlink this because we don't want to change the menu on accident. This is now the footer. And like I was about to say earlier, we don't want the custom menu on the footer, so I'm going to get rid of that. And instead, I just want some paragraph text. And I'm going to find that copyright symbol that you always see on websites. And just copy that. Copy the copyright symbol, put the year, and you can put your company name, whatever. I'm just gonna say Eric John Campbell. And now I'm gonna change the text. And I like it with a little bit less opacity for the footer, and also lower the font size. And now that that's done, I'm gonna change the text so it's aligned to the right-hand side. I don't think we need the logo on the bottom either. So I'm gonna delete that column. And what's happened here now is because I deleted that column, it changed how this layout is structured. For the columns, we could just have that go to the right. Oh, I see what's going on here. So I'm actually gonna duplicate this, or even just move the paragraph outside of the column and delete the columns. And lastly, we just want that text to be in the middle. And that's it, that's our footer. Then click this button to save it as a symbol. And I'm going to put in footer. And now, just because I don't like that white they put around it, I'm going to take off this 1 pixel padding. And click save. So that's it. I know it seems kind of complicated to create a footer when you compare this with other tools like Squarespace or Wix. But the beauty is, if you know how to create a footer, you know how to create pretty much anything on your website because you're creating everything by scratch. And now let's just add our menu and footer to our tools page, and you can see how easy this is. First, I'm going to exit Thrive Architect, and then head back over here, and under Tools, we're going to edit with Thrive Architect. And I'm going to search for symbol this time. And we want templates or symbols. And the first one I'm going to add is the menu. So that's the menu bar. And I'm going to change that padding so it's 0 pixels. Next up, I'm going to add the footer. And to do that, I'm just going to drag templates and symbols, select footer, and choose symbol. And that's it. So it's really that easy. And I'm just going to get rid of this header. Get rid of that 1 pixel padding and click Save. And if we were to preview our website now, if we click on Home, it's taking us to the home page. And if we click on Tools, it's taking us to the Tools page. So that's it. That's our menu and footer.